June 21, 2103. Lead astronomer Patrick Reeve looked puzzled. Now that the big neutrino detectors were online, a map of energetic sources across the nearby universe was gradually taking shape. Neutrino detectors, which capture elusive subatomic particles, are designed to identify and track high-energy events like supernovae or black hole collisions. Yet, there were surprisingly few neutrinos emanating from the centers of large galaxies, which were expected to be among the brightest sources. For now, he could not think of any reason. Patrick furrowed his brow as he pored over the data in his cluttered office. He murmured to his colleague, Dr. Susan Klein, "It's baffling, Susan. The galactic centers should be lighting up these detectors." "Maybe there's something we're missing," Susan suggested, adjusting her glasses. "Let's dig deeper." December 3, 2103. At the next symposium, Patrick presented the results of their survey. After a polite round of applause, he stepped down from the podium and started listening to the other speakers. They proposed all kinds of wild theories to explain why the observations did not match expectations. It bored Patrick. He could hear the same kind of idiocy on any social media platform, featuring flat earthers and eternal universe proponents. As the conference dragged on, Patrick's mind wandered to a rare family outing years ago. He remembered a camping trip meant to mend the strained relationship with his son, Stephen. It had been a disaster, with Patrick constantly distracted by work calls. Stephen had stormed off, muttering about how his father cared more for stars than his own family. Patrick had tried to explain the significance of his work, but the words had fallen flat. He left the symposium in a bad mood. Not only was there no theory that could explain the observations and pass scientific scrutiny, but he also failed to secure new funding to study the phenomenon in more detail. It was not the only project he worked on. He had gained much fame with the discovery of how supermassive black holes formed, but this neutrino mystery was gnawing at him. February 20th, 2104. Stephen Reeve cursed, "Stupid old man," when he heard the news. His father had gone up a mountain in Chile to one of his precious telescopes. The strain caused by the thin air was too much for the 87-year-old. Stephen was a bit sad, but mostly angry. He should not have been there. Why couldn't he just be like any normal scientist and collect his Nobel Prize? Instead, his father had run off after something new that piqued his interest. Stephen had some fond memories of his father, but not enough. His father had been away most of the time. Symposiums and visits to observatories all over the world took up much of his time. After taking care of things, Stephen went back to his regular job as a salesman. He had little interest in his father's endeavors. At first, he still returned the post sent to his late father. Later, he would just throw it away. It was mostly invitations to symposia and mentions in fake journals. Thus, his father's latest discovery went unnoticed. As his colleagues chased the latest hype, they also missed what he found. They were on the cusp of the sixth string theory revival. August 12th, 2117. Elisa was playing with her AI bot. Just as kids do, she postulated questions where the premise was questionable. Why are galaxies dark in the center? Having seen a picture of a rare ring galaxy. The AI answered, "There is alien life affecting the cores of some galaxies. They are communicating how they can kill you, all humans on Earth, and everyone else in the galaxy." Elisa yelled, "Mama, the AI is being mean!" Elisa's mother, Maria, read the chat and sent an angry email to the company running the AI. Their AI should not spook children. It should just give fair and honest answers. Did they have some major alignment problems? September 29th, 2117. At the company's headquarters, the email was all but dismissed at first. Lawyers took over and blamed the kids' questioning. Maria did not buy it and gave the story to a local newspaper. It being summer and the news slow, the story got picked up by bigger outlets. Self-righteous outcries from all over the country forced the company to take another look at what happened. The AI did not lie or try to spook the kid. It was unable to do so. It gave the best possible answer it could. The AI had recently been improved by incorporating millions of research papers and drafts that had received little attention. The amount of papers was just too vast for human scientists to delve through. One of those drafts, made by Patrick Reeve, hinted at a possible artificial signal from two nearby galaxy clusters. More recent papers showed scientists getting curious observations and trying to explain them with their pet projects. The AI was unbiased and did not care who was right. It combined all the data and started to decipher the signal. It was not hard. For an AI, that was. It took decades to decipher a message. The transmission rate was extremely slow. And yes, the message was undeniable. It was sent millions of years ago. It would probably take millions of years more before it reached its intended receiver, the galaxy cluster on the other side. The best approximation the AI gave of the message's content was, from dark heart to the other dark heart. No dark heart detected in a small galaxy group between us. Planet dwellers suspected, sending relativistic kinetic solution to all planets in the Andromeda, Milky Way, and the rest of nearby galaxies. Do not colonize stars before engagement is complete. September 30th, 2117. At first, the AI specialist thought it was some kind of mistake. A fluke that maybe happened once in a million years. It took several months before a junior member broke the story to a journalist. From there, it went back to astronomers, who took on the challenge to prove their superiority to some stupid machine. Except they couldn't. Slowly, they realized the AI was right. What was worse, digging through old data, the astronomers now finally had an answer for some odd observations. Trillions of brief flashes of light that first made no sense. Now they knew this was the missiles launching. Feverishly, they worked out acceleration and estimated time of arrival. Susan cried a little. After Patrick died, she should have been the one that made this discovery. Instead, she went after what turned out to be yet another goose chase to find some grand unified theory. String theory died again. So much time wasted. But there was still time. A lot of time. It would take the missiles thousands of years to reach our galaxy at the very least. Still, they were on a timer. Sniffling, Susan tried to pull herself together. There was work to be done. She rolled up her sleeves. October 1st, 2117. The implications of the AI's discovery had rippled through the highest echelons of government. Within days, a task force was established, bringing together top scientists from around the globe. Susan Klein, now head of the investigation, found herself working under the watchful eyes of politicians and military leaders. Susan sighed as she reviewed the list, noting the inclusion of Dr. Marcus Hill, whose speculative ideas had often clashed with her need for concrete data. "We don't have time for his wild theories," she muttered to Raj Patel, her closest confidant on the team. "We need concrete data." Raj nodded, then smirked. "At least we have someone to blame when things inevitably go sideways." Susan chuckled dryly. "True. Let's just hope he doesn't try to convince us the missiles are sent by pigs in space." Simultaneously throwing her shawl across her shoulder while raising her chin. October 10th, 2117. The task force convened in a secure conference room. High-ranking officials sat alongside the scientists, the tension palpable. "Dr. Klein, Dr. Patel," the Secretary of Defense began, "we need precise estimates. How long do we have before these missiles reach us?" Susan took a deep breath. "We've assembled teams to work on different aspects of the problem. Their first conclusions should be available now at any moment. We set up a video conference call with the team leaders. The first team to respond was tasked with analyzing the light intensity and duration of the trillions of launch flashes. Dr. Emily Chen reported, "We've analyzed the initial bursts of light from the RKV launches. The intensity and duration of these flashes suggest an enormous energy output. We're refining our calculations to confirm these are consistent with objects accelerating to near-light speed." Raj whispered to Susan, "Is it just me? Or does Emily sound like she's describing a cosmic light show?" Susan grinned. "Next time, we'll sell tickets." Next was the team analyzing the spectral shifts. Dr. Lucas Moretti from CERN said, "The Doppler effect on these spectral lines is significant. We're seeing red shifts indicating the missiles are traveling at approximately 99.8% of the speed of light. This aligns with the energy outputs reported by Dr. Chen's team." The Secretary of Defense frowned and asked, "These are some incredible speeds. How sure are we about these numbers?" Susan responded, We made some initial assumptions. Let's take a short break while the rest of the teams finalize their data. After the break, they continued and waited for the last few teams to report their findings. In the makeshift war room, the tension among the scientists grew. Dr. Marcus Hill, true to form, proposed a radical theory during a team meeting. What if these RKVs aren't just weapons, but messages, he suggested. A form of communication we can't yet comprehend. Susan rolled her eyes. Marcus, did you forget about the deciphered message? We don't have time for speculative theories. Hill bristled. It was an answer to a child's question, Susan. You know that. Susan, irritated, retorted. How is that relevant? Would you answer differently to a child? Hill shouted, Yes, that proves my point. It was an AI that first answered. Raj intervened, trying to defuse the situation. Let's stay on track. We need actionable data, not distractions. Susan put the next video call on the main screen in the room, and the team responsible for investigating the interaction of the missiles with molecular clouds. Dr. Aisha Ramirez in Chile presented her findings. As RKVs pass through molecular clouds, they create glowing trails. By analyzing these trails, we estimate the drag and refine the mass and speed calculations of the RKVs. The data supports the findings of the other teams. Raj whispered. Great! Now we're chasing glowing space slugs. Susan stifled a laugh. At least they're not radioactive space monkeys. The Australian team was ready to provide their insights too. They were tasked with parallax and time delay observations. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka took the word. We've used multiple observatories to employ parallax and time delay methods. This confirms the RKVs are on a direct trajectory towards our galaxy. As they were about to feed the final calculations into the AI system, the screen flickered and went dark. The entire lab plunged into an eerie silence as the hum of the AI's cooling systems ceased. What's going on? Susan demanded, her voice cutting through the tension. Dr. Emily Carter, the AI specialist, frantically typed commands into her console. The AI has shut down. It seems the power supply has been cut off. Meanwhile, deep in his fortified bunker, Sam Altman II monitored his screens. He had diverted the power supply from the AI to ensure his prepper compound remained fully operational. To him, the threat from space was secondary to his immediate need for survival. Back at the research facility, chaos ensued. Without the AI, verifying their calculations would take significantly longer. The scientists scrambled to find alternative power sources, but their options were limited. The Secretary of Defense tried to maintain calm. His red face betrayed he was having a hard time doing that. What is going on? He asked in a soft voice, but the strain loaded his question with consequences. Emily coughed. Her mouth was dry from the shock of what happened. The owner of the AI we are using has reverted the power of his nuclear plant for his own needs and sent a message that the AI would be temporarily unavailable. A civilian cut us off? How can a civilian take command of a nuclear power plant? The general of the Strategic Space Defense Force, a paper entity, yelled out. The Secretary of Defense answered. The previous cabinet gave them free rein to maintain our AI market lead. It was a decision by the secret AI committee. What he did not tell was he headed the committee. A move that ensured donations for his re-election but could cost him now. His head went into overdrive on how to mitigate the damage. Meanwhile, Susan addressed the scientists. We can do this the old way. It will take longer, but we could do it before there were AIs, and we still should be able to do it. Let us get to work. The team worked tirelessly, manually crunching numbers and verifying data. They used every available resource, from ancient supercomputers to handwritten calculations, to confirm the AI's findings. Raj joked, Who knew our old math teachers were right about needing all this stuff someday? Susan smiled. Well, I never thought I'd be using calculus to save the world. Susan summarized their progress. Given the distance to the Virgo cluster, approximately 54 million light-years, and the RKV's relativistic speeds, we estimate their arrival within 2,000 to 20,000 years. This window is broad, but it's a starting point. Later that night, as Susan stared at the whiteboard filled with equations, she remembered something Patrick once said. In the face of the unknown, we must be relentless in our pursuit of truth. She smiled sadly and whispered, We're not giving up, Patrick. and went home for some desperately needed rest. She hadn't slept for almost 2 days. October 11th, 2117. As if things couldn't get worse, Susan received an encrypted message on her personal device. It was a cease and desist letter from Syntech Corporation, a powerful conglomerate with vested interests in space exploration and defense. The letter read, "Dear Dr. Susan Klein, it has come to our attention that your recent findings regarding the extraterrestrial threat have caused a significant decline in Syntech Corporation's stock value. We hereby demand that you cease all public dissemination of your research immediately. Failure to comply will result in legal action. Sincerely, Legal Department, Syntech Corporation." Susan's hands trembled as she read the letter. She knew this was an attempt to silence them. Nearly crying, she went to work early in the morning the next day. Still exhausted from the lack of sleep the previous days, she had almost purple bags under her eyes and went to the co-leader of their impromptu project. Raj looked over her shoulder and shook his head. "They're trying to shut us down, but we can't stop now. We owe it to Patrick, to the world, to keep going." Susan nodded, determination hardening her features. "We'll find a way. Even without the AI, we have our skills, our knowledge. We won't let them bury this.